Do not swim advisory is still in place in Maumee Bay. Thanks for staying with us at 5:30. I'm Christian Brown.
And I'm Diane Larson in for Lee Conklin. And we're starting to see the algal bloom boom along the Lake Erie's coast, especially near Michigan, Jay.
Correct. And the satellite pass over the lake today, the photograph shows the story very well here. This is taken earlier today. Notice there are some clouds in parts of Lake Erie, but let me zoom in to the western basin, much more shallow. It warms up more quickly, water temperatures in the upper 70s, and you can clearly see that bright green color from Monroe through the Maumee Bay, along the coast to areas just west of the islands and west of Port Clinton. If you look really carefully, near the word Toledo, it's an even brighter shade of greens. That may be the highest concentration, if you will, of that Lake Erie algae at this point. We have our Dan Smith downtown right now checking on the current situation and why some of these blooms are toxic and others are not. Dan?
Well, Jay, we are down here standing in Promenade Park by the Maumee River, and like I said, we had some toxicity concerns, of course, as a result of these latest algal blooms back in 2014, of course. 5 years ago this week, I do believe that was, we had the Toledo water crisis go on for about 57 hours, I think that was. Now, Lake Erie researchers went out there earlier today and collected 200 water samples in just a few hours in order to gain some insight into this problem.
Water quality has been a hot topic for several years in Toledo, especially since the 2014 water crisis. Harmful algal blooms, or HABs, have returned to western Lake Erie, and a concentrated effort to study it is well underway. It's called a HAB grab, a very ambitious project to collect 200 samples off Lake Erie in just about 4 hours. Now, the workforce has doubled in size this year, thanks in no small part to our neighbors to the north.
We did this last year with U.S. Organizations, but this year we added Canadian organizations, so it's that much bigger this year.
Each boat gathered up to 25 samples, with some being sent back to the lab in Windsor, but most ending up here at the University of Toledo's Lake Erie Center in Oregon.
1 or 2 organizations could never do this. The Lake Erie is just far too big. So having 8 different boats out there today collecting samples made us do it all within a few hours.
Once researchers returned to shore this afternoon, it was all hands on deck to analyze those samples.
And right now, Laura and I are filtering for DNA, so that's really important. We can tell what kind of algae is growing, run some qPCR and see if it's toxic or not. And then, of course, there'll be other people filtering for chlorophyll and filtering for nutrients, so we have a lot going on today.
The end goal here is to estimate the total mass of all those toxins at a single point in time, tracing back the origins of some strains and what could make one bloom more hazardous than another.
The high-resolution picture of toxin and how it develops from near shore to offshore and from the center of the bloom to the edges of the bloom, that'll help us develop predictions on bloom toxicity.
As far as drinking water goes, Dr. Bridgman says his team collects samples every week for analysis, and the major upgrades since 2014 should allay any fears of a repeat event.
The water utilities now have much better foresight, much better advance warning of what's coming towards them.
With continued warm waters for algae to thrive, scientists from both sides of the lake hope to present their findings soon. Now, for the record, this year's algal bloom is about a 7.5 on a 10-point scale, and last year's about a 4. However, neither of those numbers factors in the toxicity of that bloom, at least the potential toxicity, and that is certainly what researchers today are hoping to look towards to develop for future forecasts. Reporting live along Promenade Park on an increasingly green Maumee River, Dan Smith, 13 ABC Action News.